Pomare whakalawalahi atu. Welcome to the Daily Examiner. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Without further ado, because we want to get into have a little quick discussion about something that's occurred, I want to bring in one of my co-hosts. This is Liao Tilsley. Liao, good evening.
Talofa.
Talofa. Awesome, awesome. And bringing in all the way from another part of the country, Victoria O'Brien. Victoria, how are you?
Hi, good evening, Elliot. Hi, Liao.
Hi, Victoria.
Awesome, awesome. So some big news has just happened. I'm going to pass it over to Victoria. Victoria, tell us, it was supposed to be Brenton tonight, so can you tell us what's gone on? What's just happened?
Yes, just after 7 o'clock, we got an email from Brenton. He's unfortunately received, he's just been called away to attend to a client. Because of the nature of his job, he is a funeral director. He has been called away unexpectedly, and so he can't make it tonight. The earliest you can make it for tonight is 9 o'clock. So we will try to do this again on Thursday evening. It's to be expected. That's just the nature of his work.
Yes, that's right. That's absolutely right. So I can tell everyone that, yes, that Brenton has sent that message to Victoria. He's very apologetic. It's one of the reasons of what we do like to do in terms of live interviews. We love having live interviews because we want your engagement. We want you to be part of it. And this is just what happens. Exactly what happened with Gilda. What happened with Gilda? I'm trying to remember what happened there.
She lost her voice, so there was just no way we could have an interview. She couldn't speak, right?
Yep, absolutely. So she couldn't speak, she lost her voice, and we deferred that interview, and when she did come on, it was absolutely great. So we're already getting someone there. Ardis, it's a shame. Yes, Ardis, absolutely. Oh, we were pretty excited about it. But don't worry, he has actually made sure that he will be there on Thursday, so we'll be able to discuss that element there. So let's have a discussion.
There's a lot to chat about anyway, because we'll just do a news roundup.
Awesome.
There's almost so much. There's too much to write for us to actually put out each day, just about for our very small team working on volunteer time.
Yep.
So let's go through it. Liao, do you have any news items?
I just saw today that the government want to extend the emergency COVID response bill act that they've got in place to 2025. So to me, that is just a total overreach. They've dropped the mandates, in our country, but again, we're just like, more things coming out of actually their true heart, and it's not for the people at all, because you look around and people are suffering. The poverty, the crime, and to think that this is where we're at right now, that they're going to extend it,
extending the powers. Extending the powers means that they can do things like limit our movement and increase surveillance. So these are all extraordinary powers which they gave themselves during the whole COVID emergency. So it simply extends the period of state control, extraordinary state control. I wonder if it's going to be monkeypox, or is it going to be new variants of COVID? But how long are people going to be prepared to give away our lives, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, and I think that it has been noticed that the mainstream media have been pushing this story of monkeypox coming out, and they've started to bring out the so-called experts in terms of the new variant that's coming out. They're starting to push very heavily, and now, of course, they've started to have their experts starting to say that actually, no, we do need to go back into some form of protection layer, and that's also something which is obviously very coincidental in forms of them trying to push back this law and gain more power or continue their power that they've got in that area. So utterly shocking, absolutely right. I think it is disgusting. I also found it quite interesting that we had Jacinda Ardern being questioned today about the fact that there have been more ram raids, more burglaries, more robberies as well, which is, of course, one is when they're closed and the other is when they're open. And, in fact, the news came out that food banks are starting to be robbed as well. So food banks are being robbed. Jacinda Ardern came out and she was very clear that somehow she's doing a great job in terms of lowering child poverty, and yet at the same time she doesn't understand why people are starting to rob food banks. So absolutely fascinating to see how she's trying to really whittle away things and just utilize her communications degree to the utmost in terms of looking good. I find it fascinating to see that element.
Well, it's also interesting, the manipulation of government released statistics, isn't it? Because the poverty report coming out, measuring number of people in poverty and requiring help, specifically excluding people who are in fact living in emergency housing and motels and that sort of thing. So what's the point of having a poverty report if it excludes the people who are in poverty?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's just shocking to know that this is the government who likes to say one thing, but their actions are so horrifically determined the other way. Not just the racial discrimination that they're engaging in, not just the brutalizing of the public, and also now starting to engage in more heavier forms of abortion. Across the board, it's shocking to see how they've just treated New Zealanders and New Zealand values. Just shocking.
And to think that we are still spending $1 million a day on emergency housing here in Auckland, it's shocking to me how much this government is allowing the spending to, flow. And I feel like, how much do we owe? Like, where is this coming from, and who's going to pay it back?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your kids and grandkids.
Yes, your children's and your children's children. Yeah, absolutely fascinating that stuff is. Now, Victoria, you also had some shocking news going on around the world as well, didn't you? It's some of the scary stuff that's going on.
Well, linked to the whole cost of living and everything. We've got in France right now, in fact, overnight yesterday, there were large-scale cost of living protests going on throughout France. This is also at the same time as Total Energies workers continue their strike. So that I don't know if people realize that several thousand petrol stations right across France were out of petrol for quite a few days. In fact, I think it was over a week in the last few weeks. Because of workers' strikes, they're asking for higher pay. Everybody's enduring cost of living increases. So while Europe is now starting to enter a winter where they're looking at very high energy costs regardless, so at the same time, there have been huge queues at a whole bunch of petrol stations around the country just waiting for petrol. You've had police officers, in fact, controlling how much petrol each person can take. So they will look down at your fuel gauge in your car, and if you have more than half a tank, you basically just turned away. You can't fill up your car. People are waiting for hours at petrol stations to fuel up. And plenty of petrol stations had run out of fuel entirely. So in the last few days, some of the unions have been persuaded to go back to work. So I think ExxonMobil has now said that 2 of its refineries are going to start back up, but it will still take a few weeks to get back up to full production. And So France is in quite a lot of turmoil, and given that we don't have our own refinery anymore in New Zealand, I really wonder how far away we are from this sort of mass civil unrest. All our fuel is now imported, and people should be seeing now a discrepancy where diesel fuel is now more expensive than 91 in many places, which is insane, really. Since you've got road user charges on top if you've got a diesel road vehicle, but it's purely because we're just importing tankers of fuel. So as each tanker comes in, I mean, that's what the spot price is that's paid for fuel. So the whole price tie-up between the different fractionating costs for diesel, 91, 95, etc., that's just totally being broken, that link. Now we just pay whatever it costs on the market for each refined fuel. So that's you can expect that to continue for a while.
Victoria, now because you've actually got some deep knowledge of this, especially as someone who's been a part of that. How will New Zealand fare within the next year? And I know that's a short time. Do you have any thoughts about how dramatically that's going to affect us and how our own position in New Zealand, are we going to get better? Is this going to improve? Is the situation of our fuel and our fuel costs going to get better, worse? What are your feelings? What do you think is going to happen?
Unfortunately, I'm not terribly optimistic because if you look at what's going on, I mean, just a few months ago, 2 months ago or something, several New Zealand economists were saying that, we've seen the peak of inflation in New Zealand. People on the ground, of course, are saying, well, no, that can't be true because inflation data comes out lagging by a quarter, and the whole time the cost of living just keeps rising. So you know that the next quarter inflation figures have to be worse. So it's not got any better, and none of the global pressures have eased. In fact, they're getting worse with the situation with Ukraine, Russia, and the US not looking good at all. And now Xi Jinping in China having made a very strong speech in the last couple of days saying that China will do everything to keep Taiwan as a territory of China. And his words were very powerful, right? Because he says to keep Taiwan as a territory of China. So that gives you an idea that, you know, he's not messing about. And he's also looking at getting a record-breaking time in power. He's going to be, strangely enough, voted back in. Having given that's amazing, isn't it? Having given himself basically an extended term again, but miraculously voted in. Yeah. So none of this is looking good. It only takes some sort of unrest in the South China Sea for shipping operations to be completely disrupted to us. And now all our fuel comes in from overseas. And once the shipping routes get disrupted, we have no fuel. And with no fuel means no medical supplies to hospitals, no food to any of the supermarkets or shops. Basically, urban areas will be the very first to find that life is going to be very, very hard indeed. Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm not very optimistic.
Yep, no, dark times coming, and we should have expected it. Unfortunately, look, there is. We know that just for you who have joined on to us, we want to say that we're apologetic that Brenton has sent us a message saying very sorry that because of his 24/7 on contact job, he's been called away to do what we all know that he actually has to do for clients, and so we've deferred that until Thursday. So he'll be coming on Thursday and chat. In the meantime, there is someone who is very special who has come on. This is a person who defended Brenton. Actually, when Sean Plunkett from the platform was quite ruthless in his treatment of Brenton. This is also a person who has stood up against the masses. He was at Wellington and he made sure to speak up for the Kiwis' rights, for the New Zealander rights that were there. He's been going around the country and he's been filling up bars and stadiums and little theatres around I've been watching some of it's beautiful to see in terms of the provinces as well. There's all sorts of different Kiwis also going to this man's meeting. But to the stage, I want to bring out the man himself, Matt King from Democracy NZ. Matt!
What an intro.
What an intro.
Oh, Elliot,
Hey,
you are too
hey.
kind. Too kind.
Hey, it's easy.
I'm loving you.
You
mate.
make it
I'm
easy.
loving you. You're incredible. You, all three of you are beautiful people. Beautiful.
Awesome.
I wish
Matt,
I could
absolutely.
I wish I could live up to it, mate. I really do.
Well, look, the fact is, you make it easy because it's other people who are taking a lot of photos. Your team are taking photos, but so many other people are taking photos, are posting on social media. The seats are filling up. What's really good is I've been seeing not only the normal, those of us who have a bit more silverish sort of hair, but also you've got kids and you've got mums and dads there, you've got family members there as well. And that's actually a really awesome thing to see, to watch on social media happening. So could you please give us, before we talk about ask other questions, how's it been going? What's been going on since you started your tours?
Okay, well, we've been really. It's been amazing actually. The tour has been amazing. I think that people all over the country are starting to wake up and become aware of what's actually going on, what's really going on, and the information that's drifting through from overseas, coming from overseas. Has been, I think, I'm seeing the dominoes are starting to fall around the country and around the world, and I think it's really positive long term for us. So, and what I'm seeing with people coming to our events is, yes, like you said, Elliot, mums and dads, kids, lots of women, lots of people that you might not expect at a political event. So all shapes and sizes and ages, and it's for a party, for a new sort of fledgling party, and we've only just been registered last week. It's been incredible. Like the feedback's been incredible. So onwards and upwards, And I give you guys a bit of a plug in every meeting. I say, we don't want to call you alternative media, but I want to call you the truth media. That actually are doing such a great job enlightening Kiwis and others around the world about what's really going on. It's you guys that are doing it. So you get an honourable mention. I mentioned Kiwi Voice, and I quite often mention Chantel Baker.
Awesome.
So yeah. So keep up the good work.
Right, awesome as. Look, there's been already people are coming in there. Some people are asking you, when are we going to see you back in Wellington, Matt? That's coming from Kim. All right, we've got Alexander, great stuff, Matt. And one that isn't here is one of our very close supporters, ABCZX1. Matt, your response to the platform was really great last week. Can you tell us and tell our audience about that? What happened there, and why you jumped on the platform at all? Okay,
so what happened was I've been hearing about this man Brenton Faithfull, who's like he's a whistleblower and he's a brave man, and we need more Brenton Faithfulls in this world. And I watched I listened to his interview with Sean Plunkett, and I just thought, Sean, you're letting us down. I just think that your job is to provide a balanced platform where you advertise it as being fair and reasonable and everything else. And he just didn't give the man a chance. He actually started doing gotcha interviews straight away, cut him off. And I just thought it wasn't fair. And so I made a comment on his Facebook calling him appalling, actually. and the interview appalling from Sean Plunkett's point of view, and he couldn't resist it. He gave me an opportunity to come on and say my piece, and I think he was going to do the same to me, but we managed to get a few points across, So, yeah. He doesn't intimidate me.
Well, it looks like you've got a.
I've been interviewed by Elliot Ecolai, so I've been interviewed by the.
Oh, very nice. Well, look, Christine's come out here. Plunkett was disgraceful. I uninstalled the platform app. Then we've got another one there. Old Sean Plonker, he's an ill-informed. Each to their own on opinions. Very good, very good. Matt will have someone standing. Will you have someone standing mid-Canterbury? Oi, okay, there's a question.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll tell you what we're doing at the moment. I've been blown away by the caliber of the people that have been lining up to become candidates for us. And we're actually going through the process now of screening them, I guess, and due diligence and background checks and all that sort of thing. And so far, we've had some really, really talented people line up. And so we're doing the homework now on them. And we've got 2 or 3 more ready to go. And we're just picking our time and opportunity to present them. And we had Lee Smith from Taranaki King Country, ex-New Conservative.
Yep.
A very talented lady. Obviously, you know her well. And
lovely lady.
Lovely lady and talented and everything that we're looking for in a candidate. So she came forward and we did some homework on her and everything came up trumps. So she was good. So these some of these ex-New Conservative candidates pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. They're pretty good.
Not bad. So, quite. Some of them are very talented people. Anyway, so we had her come on board, and she's just one of many. And whenever I meet people like her and others that are wanting to come on board the Democracy NZ ship, it gets me really excited. It really does, because none of them are politicians, but they're all good people, life experience, that sort of thing. But for me, the biggest thing is trust and loyalty, and straight up and down grassroots people is what I'm looking for. So yeah,
awesome. Liao, did you say you had something?
We'll go with Victoria first. She's got a burning question. I'll go next.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because you mentioned trust, loyalty, etc. So here's a question. Can you work with Winston Peters? The man who's Winston Peters doesn't just trust him. Right?
That is gold question.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, look, I'll tell you what I think. Okay. That guy just says what people want, what he thinks they want to hear, and then he does what's best for Winston. And I say to people that are seeing him now rising from the ashes and say, just have you lost your memory? Do you not understand what he's done? He's the guy that supported the legislation, the health response bill that came in that gave us all these draconian laws. He was their cheerleader for and supported the Labor government through all these different laws. So he claims that he came through to the protest and walked through and did a 30-minute staged visit. Yet if you look at his tweets and his posts prior to that, he was really pushing for the vaccination, pushing for basically he was part of the crew that were blaming the unvaccinated and that sort of stuff. And I just go, look, do your homework and don't fall for the political maneuvering and glossy words, because he doesn't deliver. So would I work with him? No, not interested. I want to have people around me and work with people that are not out for themselves, but they're out for what's best for the country and what's best for their communities,
Yeah, and I'll actually add to that. I think that Mr. Peters, he was really good. I think during the wine box scenario, I think that was actually really good stuff that he was doing then. I love the gold card. I think the gold card is absolutely wonderful. But over the last couple of elections, he was the one who gave Jacinda Ardern power and the entire Labour Party. He appointed her as Prime Minister. And not only that, but he was the one who signed the UN Migration Compact, which is quite a brutal document against the sovereignty of different countries. And when did he admit it? He admitted that in the last hour, in the last day that Parliament sat in 2019, I think it was. So that was absolutely shocking. Or 2018, it was absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
Were you there? Were you there at that time, Matt?
Yes, I was, and I do remember there was a whole lot of things like that happened where it's like, please, people, go back and remember what happened. Like, you don't thank the arsonist for putting out the fire. And he got these guys in when 44% of New Zealand asked for another crowd, and which was the biggest number, and he put these people in. So don't forget that. Don't forget that. And just remember that Winston, yeah, I get what you're saying about Winston Peters. You know, he's not all bad, but he's not very good either. I'll leave it there. Yeah.
Well said.
Winston first.
Yeah.
So,
he knows how to wear
Winston first.
Yeah. He wears a good suit. I'll give you that. He looks good in a suit.
He looks stylish.
I've seen you in a suit too, Elliot, and you look good too, man.
It's my lover. Liao.
So, Matt, I just want to ask you, just maybe the first two, maybe the top two issues that every time you go to different meetings, what have been the key issues or concerns that people have been asking you in the meetings? Have they had a chance to, the top two that people, throughout the country are concerned about that, you were able to speak to?
Yeah, thanks. Well, I'd say the biggest one was the feeling that as a country that we are going down the gurgler, that we are division, discrimination, just that there's a country that's never been so bad, and the blame is laid fairly and squarely at the feet of this current government and the division and discrimination that they've created, and just the sheer nastiness of and the degradation of our society is come through, and it's across the board, whether it's virtue signaling or it's the different laws that they've brought in that have been right at the edge of what's reasonable. And there's a general feeling that we've gone down a path as a country that we need to turn it around and get what we think of as New Zealand back again. So that's racial division, that's economic sabotage, that's virtue signaling, that's driving our country. We're going to be bankrupted both economically and morally if we continue on the path we're on. So that's probably the biggest I get. And then there's a range of, I guess, different people feel like they've lost control, that the country that they're in is not what they grew up in, and they just want it back. And
right.
It's simple things. They want to be able to decide and have less government intrusion in their lives. The cost of living is horrendous. There's really real hardship out there.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And people are really suffering. And I don't think these guys actually realise how much damage they've done to us as a country. They don't realise.
Matt, from what I've heard from National, is that they're going to take back a lot of what Labour has obviously done. But what are some real solutions? Like, taking it back is only one thing, but what are some of the solutions that, taking things back is one thing, but we still have problems. We still have these big issues.
Look, I really see big problems for us in this whole lot of things have been brought into this country by stealth, without the mandate of the people. And I know mandates are probably a horrible word to use, but without the support of regular grassroots Kiwis, I think this government have gone down a path where they did it by stealth. they're not doing anything democratically. They're ruling, like dictators do. And for me, I think we've got to start getting our country back on track economically, so that we can pay our bills and we can keep, get our, basic stuff like the cost of building a house, or the cost of just making a living, the basic income of people that are coming into their pockets is being eaten away by the inflationary effect. And it's just getting worse, and there's no end in sight. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. So as a country, we've got to start managing our country back, back to paying our bills and treating our people properly, and giving them the respect and listening to them. And when I was down at the protest, and that's the birth of our party, came out of that protest, was how badly grassroots, beautiful Kiwis. And I saw you there every day with your little camera cruising around, with your phone. I saw you every day. Yeah, I did. I saw you doing lots of work down there and catching people, just regular people, telling their stories, Yeah. And I remember that. And I just thought to myself, how can a government be so out of touch with its people? And how can a government treat its people so badly? Like no respect. And that was the birth of us, Democracy NZ, was we got to have a country where our government respects its people and treats them with respect, and honours their basic human rights, and gets them. They talk about empathy and compassion, well, they've got none. Yeah.
Well said. Well said. All right. So, Matt, is there any message that you would like to give to our people out there, the ones who are watching, our audience, and those who, when we edit this video, we send it out there? What message would you like to send to New Zealanders who are out there, who are we look at the elections, 40% on average. I know Southside, some of the Southside areas, South Auckland areas, were 15% coming out, and that was for local elections, which are low. And we know that they'll be low again next year for the central elections. What message would you send to them?
Look, I'd say that some people have just given up, and they think that this is all predetermined, and they won't be able to turn the ship around, and that this government are just going to take away our ability to vote and our rights. There's a lot of people worried out there, and I just say, look, be optimistic. People power, people coming together, common grassroots people coming together in good numbers can absolutely change the course back on, get the country back on track. We just have to believe that we can do it, and believe in ourselves, and stick together, and go with your gut feeling, what's right. Vote for the people who represent and are saying what you want to, what you believe in, and don't believe the rhetoric that comes out of the major parties saying that, vote for a minor party is a wasted vote. There's a lot of people out there that are very much motivated, that used to vote red and blue, or green or yellow, and not going to vote for them anymore. And I say to you, all over the world, people that have stuck up for people's rights and freedoms and whistleblowers and all that, those are the people that are getting voted in the next wave of elections. So, yeah, I am optimistic, and I'm positive that we as a country, we can get through this and get back on track and put a smile on our dial.
Well, you're a living proof of it, really, aren't you? Because you stepped out of that party in terms of it. You stepped out from there. And you also, if I remember correctly, you were that public face defending the police and the army in terms of defending them against the attack of those mandates. And, of course, more recently with Brenton Faithfull. So I think that would be a fair comment to make, that you are a living example of that. So...
Oh, look, there's a lot of people, Elliot. There's a lot of people have stepped up, like you three as well, and look, just regular Kiwis that out there. That everyone. I mean, I've lost a few friends, that are still fast asleep, growing wool, and then I see others that are newfound friends that I never thought that I'd be friends with, because they've realised, we're sort of all on a common cause. So, I think there's a lot of people out there that have stepped up to the plate. And I think that as people see others step up, and they see, the brave ones, take the hits and then carry on, I think that will grow in numbers. So, you know, and that's probably why you guys are doing so well with your Daily Examiner, because you're providing a source of information for people to get the news and to discuss and to understand what's going on and to sort of get together and network as well, you know. So yeah. So it's not just me, mate.
Awesome.
There's a lot of good people out there.
Hey. There was a question here that got brought up that I thought was actually really good, and I think Liao might have been bringing it up there. ABC to ZX1 again. Matt, thoughts on last week's developments around carbon taxing our farmers? So obviously that's referring to those new regulations that are incoming on the carbon area. What is the fart and burp tax?
Oh, look, it's just virtue signalling BS, to be honest, Elliot. Like, I look at it and I go, we are already world class in producing food. So we do anything to limit our production, which is the only tool the government said we've got to lower our emissions is lower production, less cow numbers. I think that us stopping, if we follow the government's current ideology on reducing emissions, we're actually going to make emissions worldwide worse. And so I say we are the gold standard in food production. We should be, as long as we're sustainable and protecting our environment, so we're not killing our environment, we should be continue producing the way we are. We should disregard all this emission stuff, because even the Paris Accord says that food should be exempt. We shouldn't be virtual signaling. We should be looking at what our trading partners are doing, and sort of keeping in sync with them, and doing the right thing by the environment, but not what the government's suggesting is flawed modelling and virtue signalling, basically, in a nutshell. And I think farmers should push back hard, and they should say, "No, we're not going to allow you to decimate us and damage us as a government. We need to push back and say, no, it's not going to happen." Do like the Dutch farmers are. They're out there. You won't see them in the mainstream media, but the Dutch farmers are going hard, and we need to do the same and push back and say this is not right, and this will kill our economy. It'll lower our standard of living. It'll lower food production, which we desperately need of, and the world will desperately need. And we just need to say, hey, give us facts and figures and actually accurate modelling, and prove to us that what you're saying is true. And they can't do it. They can't prove it.
Oh, I think, wasn't there a climate change expert that was interviewed by Jack Tame last night or the night before that said, oh, well, farmers should do regenerative farming practices, such as intensively grazing certain sections and then moving them on. And we're thinking,
isn't that what you're doing?
What we already do? I mean, that's like electric. I mean, hey, somebody a farmer wrote on Twitter, isn't that exactly what we've been doing since Gallagher's invented the electric fence unit in the 1940s? So, I mean, New Zealand's already there. They seem to be setting all these rules in place based on the American-style feedlot of cattle, where cattle are intensively grazed. Well, actually, they're just simply fed grain, and there's no grass anywhere. And that is nothing like what we have here. It's just too expensive for us. I mean, I noticed when you say, farmers should push back. I mean, that's you and I. You're going to be out there at the groundswell protest?
Hey, the city slickers are there.
Yeah,
we'll be there.
Yeah, look, I think we've got a big meeting up north here in a couple of weeks, and we lost Leah. We've got a big meeting here in a couple of weeks, and we've got obviously the protests on Thursday. And these guys don't. This current government don't listen. They don't listen to petitions. They don't listen to protests. They just forge ahead and do whatever they're going to do. But I think as farmers, we all say, no, we're not going to pay the levies. We're not going to cooperate. We're going to push back. We're not going to allow them to do it. And in 2023, when the election rolls around, we roll them out of town. And we only vote for people that are talking with science and can back up what they're saying with facts, is what I think.
Right.
Well said.
It's going to be difficult not to pay the levies when they come out straight out of the revenue before we even get our payment from the works, right? Levies just come out automatically. So
you can't stop that. Yeah, you can't stop that. I think because like James Shaw said, we should be leading the pack, right? And that we should but the science doesn't support what he's saying. In fact, the groundswell guy, Steve Cranston, and I did an interview. Have you had him on at all?
No, not
You
yet.
haven't had him on?
Not
No.
yet.
Okay, so he talked about, and he said the methane is the big gas. That's the problem. And he goes, the methane levels are not increasing. And he said, if the methane levels stay the same, there's no increase in global warming because methane levels are static. And he said, we're already the best producers of food in the world. If we stop production or lower production, less efficient producer in another part of the world takes over. That's actually just a fact. And that's what will happen. And so when I hear Jacinda Ardern and the agricultural minister talking about agricultural emissions, they're just talking rubbish. They're just talking mumbo jumbo, word salad rubbish. And we need to say, no, we're not gonna comply.
Well, they really dressed the part the other day. Didn't they look like farmers? Or was that cosplay? I'm not sure.
Cosplay, total cosplay.
Oh, the hay bale and the gosh.
No.
And I did you? I'm not sure if you saw, but the ZB deputy political editor, who Jason Wallace or whatever his name is, he noted, "Wow, this is the most Kiwi thing I've ever seen," and poor dude, he got done hard for that comment because it was blatantly everyone said.
Never seen Red Band so clean.
Hey, you know what? The reality is this: in our party, in Democracy NZ, we're going to have more farmers as candidates than the National Party. Probably the Labour Party.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Definitely the Labour Party. I don't think the Labour Party's going
We will. And and I'm talking about real farmers. I'm talking about guys that actually, and women, men and women that actually farm now in our lineup. So we're going to be the Farmers Party amongst other things. Yeah.
Will you be supporting their groundswells protest on Thursday?
Yep. All around the country, we support. Groundswell have been really good in that they've pushed back on the Dairy NZ and the others have been a little bit trying to, I guess, smooth it over and negotiate with the government. But Groundswell have come out swinging and said, no, this is rubbish and we're going to call it for what it is. So we got to support the Groundswell protest all around the country. But like I said before, the government don't listen to the protests. They don't. They don't listen to petitions. They don't actually even follow due process with a lot of stuff. They short circuit everything, and they've been doing it all the way through. And that's why, the next government hopefully will be made up of coalition partners, which will mean that there might be a little bit less dictatorship and a little bit more, I guess, compromise and a little bit more of getting people to agree and teamwork going on to get laws through rather than just one dictatorial, very strong, arrogant bunch of people.
Well said.
The way
Well
MMP
said.
is supposed to work. Yeah.
Exactly that. Well, look, Matt, it has been really awesome. So we wanted to have Brenton on. He was unable to come on because he got called away on an emergency. So he has deferred to Thursday. So we're going to have Brenton come on Thursday. Matt has been so awesome that you came on, and so it'd be great in the chats. The comments are blowing up all over the place. That's going to be really cool just to watch how that's going. So you've really checked it. Good luck, and also congratulations, not just on registering the party, but in actual fact of filling out all those little places all around New Zealand. Well done. Congratulations for all of that. Good stuff.
Cool. Well, I'll give a little plug before I go. I've got next week, I'm in Gore, in Invercargill, and Oamaru. So Wednesday in Gore, Thursday the 27th in Invercargill, and Friday the 28th in Oamaru. And what I really like is that when I'm out in the country, going around these rural areas, we're meeting so many beautiful people. Like, man, there's so many cool people out there, these Kiwis. And you go down the street and you walk into the pub, because we have quite a few meetings in pubs and sort of coffee clubs and, that sort of thing. And I've just been, it's just really heartwarming to see good grassroots Kiwis all around the country coming along to our meetings and supporting us and challenging us and questioning us and hugging us and walking out the door with signs and pieces of paper and putting little money donations in our koha bin. So I'm loving it. Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm living every minute of it. And thanks for you guys supporting as well. That's awesome.
And where can people find out about these meetings?
The meetings. Okay, you can find out you go on our Democracy NZ. So it's www.democracynz.org. Then you go into on the 3 bars at the top, you go into latest news, and then click on the roadshow dates, and we've got our confirmed dates there. And we're wrapping it up for the year. We've only got about 4 or 5 dates left, and then we'll knock off for Christmas and the New Year, and then back into it probably in February. So, and we welcome everyone to come along. You know, I've only had two hecklers, and the whole time.
Were they the same person? No.
No. And when you call them hecklers, they weren't really bad. That was just a couple.
No, it must have been the farmers who all voted Labour. Remember?
Yeah.
I've been heckled more by Elliot than my hecklers. So
See, that's right. I knew it. Sorry, Victoria. Were you mentioning something there before?
Oh no! I was actually just going to ask exactly whereabouts in each town.
Oh.
The date. So yeah.
Nice.
That was
good as gold. Well, look, thank you so much, Matt, and just thank you for our team. Look, thank you for all of you who have been putting a huge amount of comments there and really engaging. That's what we like to see. We love to see it. We want agreements, disagreements, discussion, discourse, fights going on in there. That's wicked. We love it. All right. So in the meantime, thank you so much for joining in. We can't wait to see it, and we can't wait to have a chat to Matt next time, and we look forward to seeing you on Thursday. So, good night, New Zealand, from all of us to you. God bless you, and we'll see you again soon.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you too.